The purpose of this research will be to provide a clear and concise explanation of why the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, GENDA, must be implemented into New York state law. This research will demonstrate the importance of passing GENDA. The central question this research will attempt to answer is, should any group of citizens be left without basic human rights? Additionally, this research will examine the areas where transgender languish without equal protections. It will examine some of the possible causes for the discrimination that transgender people continue to face. In New York State, human rights laws prohibit discrimination against groups of citizens who face unequal treatment. Sadly, people who present themselves outside of the stereotypical gender roles traditionally associated with their birth sex are not unambiguously covered in the statute intended to protect persons from discrimination based on sexual orientation. Research has shown that many transgender people face social antagonism, which often leads to denial of employment opportunities and being fired. In addition to problems with employment, transgender people often face harassment in housing and when accessing public accommodations. Transgender people are often the targets of serious discrimination, which ranges from discrimination in the workplace to finding safe and affordable housing. The Committee on Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual and Transgender Issues of the New York County Lawyers Association approved Assembly Bill A07438 of 2005 GENDA, and they recommended its passage. In a letter dated April 21, 2009, they stated, the bill would prohibit discrimination based on gender identity or expression, and includes offenses regarding gender identity or expression under the Hate Crimes Statute. This would rectify the omission of gender identity and expression from both the Sexual Orientation Non-Discrimination Act, SONDA, enacted by the legislature in 2002, and the Hate Crimes Act of 2000. It is imperative that New York State pass GENDA and guarantee transgender people the same protections and civil rights as every other citizen. Transgender people are also frequently left without equal treatment when accessing public accommodations, including, but not limited to, restaurants, hotels, stores, doctors' offices and educational institutions. According to Stryker and Whittle, 2006, the first usage of the term transgender is generally attributed to a transgender woman named Virginia Prince, a Southern California advocate for freedom of gender expression. Page 4. Transgender people often face a level of discrimination that makes it virtually impossible to compete for the already scarce resources available to others. Advocates for transgender rights argue that transgenderism is something that warrants discussion in the schools. Etzioni, 1995, in his communitarian platform contends that educators should be partly responsible for imparting moral education. We ought to teach those values Americans share, for example, that the dignity of all persons ought to be respected, that tolerance is a virtue and discrimination is abhorrent. Page 15. Transgender discrimination creates innumerable issues. In many cases, it is near impossible for transgender people to secure employment. Like all other forms of employment discrimination, transgender people often experience bias during application, employment, promotion and/or termination. Often in the initial phases of the application process, the problem lies with an identification card,